Hey guys, it's Will here and I'm back for another battle report. Down 40k gaming tonight, and as you can see behind me, Adam is setting up his Necrons. We're going to try and do a bit of a double header tonight. Do my Eldar versus his Necrons, followed by my Necrons versus his Eldar. So should produce a couple of interesting back reps if everything goes well. Not rolled for mission yet, but we're doing 2,000 points, and yeah, I got a few new additions to my list. He's got an army he's barely ever ran before, so should make for a really interesting game. So here's my updated Biel Tan Warhost. We're running a battalion and a spearhead here. Got my Farseer on jet bike down here. He's got the singing spear and the natural leader trait, and for psychic powers he's got Doom and Guide. Warlock's my second HQ. He's just got the standard Witchblade there, and his psychic power is going to be Jinx. Well, Jinx and Protect, but it's going to be Jinx. And I've got my 4 units of Dire Avengers, 5 guys in each with the Exarchs with the double catapult, and then for transports, a couple of Wave Serpents. This one's got the Twin Bright Lance and the Underslung Cannon. That one also has a crystal targeting matrix, and then this one has the twin cannon and underslung cannon for all the Daka. Then in heavy supports I got a Falcon, and that's running the Bright Lance and the crystal targeting matrix, and 2 units of Dark Reapers. So these ones are my old ones, you've seen them before, and then these are my recently acquired and finished squads, and I've got a Tempest Launcher on there. The internet tells me that's the way to go for a Reaper Exarch, so giving that a try. Then in my elites, 1 squad of just 5 Fire Dragons, and I might actually try sending them through the webway this time rather than deploying them in a transport. We shall see. And for fast attack, 8 Warp Spiders with the Exarch with the double weapon. Then for my, I think I said Spearhead, I actually meant Outrider. It's the one with all the fast attacks. So got a Spirit Seer there. Not very thematic, probably should be a Warlock, working on another Warlock as we speak. And then my Shining Spears, had a pretty good debut game with them, although they didn't last long, they did a lot of damage. Hopefully might get even better results out of them today. And then 2 units of Windrider jet bikes with the Shuriken cannons on there. So yeah, that is 2,000 points of Eldar. The Farseer is the Warlord with the Biel Tan natural leader trait, and the Spirit Seer is running Quicken Restrain as his power. That's 2,000 points of Eldar. Let's see what Adam's brought for the Necrons. And here's Adam's Necron army. So starting down here, we've got his general, who is just a lord, not an overlord, and he's got a war scythe. And then the Cryptek is the one unit that's not quite WYSIWYG in the army. This guy doesn't have the Canoptic Cloak. Instead, he's got the Chronometron, but other than that, he is the army is what you see is what you get. So you can see it's still a work in progress, but there's a nice sort of dark metallic sheen on them. Got 3 units of 20 warriors, a Ghost Ark, a Doomsday Ark, the Deceiver, who I think is kind of the tactical linchpin of the army to an extent, and then this bad thing. Now this is the Tessarect Vault with the Transcendent Catan contained inside. So this is going to be a real pain to deal with. There's a lot of firepower and a fair bit of trickery in this army with the Catan, so yeah, could be a tough battle. Anyway, let's roll for mission and get to deployment. So for tonight's mission, we rolled up Frontline Assault from the Eternal War missions in Chapter Approved. That gives us 1 objective marker in each deployment zone, and 1 each in No Man's Land as well. So 4 objectives in total. We rolled up the Spearhead Assault deployment map. So it's short table edges with a pointy bit in the middle. So Adam, you can see, has just placed his first model there. I'm deploying down there. And yeah, it's basic sort of standard objective game other than that. So with that pointy deployment, Adam has put the Tessarect Vault right up front, although this is all subject to change because he's got the Deceiver lurking around there. That may end up more like midfield by the time we get started. Warriors clustering around it in a V with his vehicles to the back and his characters tucked in. The Cryptek has the Veil of Darkness. The Overlord, who's actually just a lord, who's hidden somewhere in amongst here, if I can get him on the shot. Oh, he's in the transport, that's why I can't see him. Is there a unit of warriors in there as well? No. So just him on his own inside the barge. Or the Ark, sorry. That's his warlord trait is the Fearless Bubble. And yeah, Adam's got the +1 to go first because he finished deploying first. I've clustered quite far back. The front of my deployment zone was there, but I think he's going to come for me and I outrange him, so I've gone back a bit. So we've got jet bikes over here, the rest of the jet bikes and the Farseer and the Shining Spears over there. In there is the Spirit Seer with Quicken Restrain, along with 1 unit of Dark Reapers and 1 unit of Dire Avengers. Again, Reapers and Avengers in there, along with the Warlock. A bit further back, we've got another unit of Avengers in the Falcon, and a final unit of Avengers tucked in under the building. In reserves, I've got the Warp Spiders and the Fire Dragons using the Webway Strike stratagem. So it is time to roll off for first turn. That's cocked. Adam's got 2, which is a 3, and my cocked one is a 6. So Eldar turn 1, unless the Necrons want to seize. No, they do not seize, but we've still got to do the Catan's Grand Illusion. So Adam's done his Grand Illusion now. So he rolled a 1, re-rolled it, got a 4, so was able to move the Deceiver and 2 other units. So the Tessarect Vault has come up to midfield, and he's also brought a unit of warriors. The Deceiver himself is hiding under there. He won't be targetable because he's a character with less than 10 wounds. As for a quick note on objectives, your own objective is worth 1 point, midfield ones are worth 2, and your opponent's is worth 4, I believe. So certainly an incentive to be aggressive here, and to that end Adam is right up in my face. But Eldar are going first, so yeah, let's see how much damage I can do to this thing before it gets to fire. The Eldar pounce on their ancient foe with complete and utter vengeance in mind. So didn't move too many units forward, did disembark both Reaper units, so one's gone up there accompanied by the Spirit Seer, and one of them's gone into the ruins here accompanied by the Warlock. And these jet bikes actually stayed still. Wave Serpent pushed up, Wave Serpent stayed still, jet bikes swang across with the Farseer. I brought down my Fire Dragons 9 inches out from the Tessarect Vault, so they were like here. Yes, they're not actually going to get shown in this battle report because they were dead by the end of the turn. But yeah, they deep struck in 9 inches, but still in my deployment zone because he was so close to me. And the Shining Spears pushed up as close as they could. Psychic powers, Farseer had to burn a command point to get off. Oh no, he didn't. No, he used Runes of the Farseer to get off Guide on that unit of Reapers, and successfully cast Doom on the Tessarect Vault. And then he used his Natural Leader ability on the second unit of Reapers, and this Warlock was able to Doom the Tessarect Vault, and the Spirit Seer was able to put Quicken on the Shining Spears to get them at point blank range, which probably wasn't worth it in hindsight. So the whole army opens up in unison at the Tessarect Vault, and it got completely blown up. Not only did it get completely blown up, but it got blown up before the Dark Reapers even got to fire. The ensuing explosion did kill one of the Shining Spears and 4 of the Fire Dragons, as well as putting a wound on the Catan and killing a couple of warriors, and 5 mortal wounds on the Wave Serpent. It was a huge explosion, but yeah, and it was the Shurikens that were doing it, with their re-rolling ones to hit for Biel Tan and re-rolling to wound for Doom, plus Jinx being on there to give him -1 to his saves. They just cut through it. That freed up the Reapers to blow up the Deceiver and take a chunk out of the warriors before the Shining Spears struck in for the almost killing blow on the warriors. He's got a few left, had to burn 2 command points to keep that going. Although I did have to burn another command point to get the charge off. I initially failed it because obviously my plan was to get close to the vault, and that wasn't there to charge, so we had to push further on. So pretty much, apart from the last surviving fire dragon failing his leadership, a textbook first turn from the Eldar. It's very rare that a plan comes together like that, but the dice and the gods favoured me today. But these Necrons are still getting a reanimate, and there's still another 40 of them, and the Doomsday Arc. It's certainly not over yet, but it's been a good start. So Adam started his turn with reanimating a bunch of these warriors, spent a couple of command points to make that more effective, and then backed them out of combat with the Shining Spears to get them closer to the Ghost Arc, which had pushed up. And then his Cryptek Veil of Darkness up with this group of warriors, bringing them all into range of the Shining Spears, who were the only unit he had a realistic chance of getting in range of for the majority of his army. He opened fire and did a lot of damage, although it was mitigated by me spending 2 command points for the lightning fast reactions for -1 to hit, and maybe a little bit of bad to wound rolls as well didn't help. But in the end I was left with just the X-Arc left. Then the Doomsday Arc. Now this was fated to suffer from new model syndrome, unfortunately. Fired at the Dark Reapers and only got 3 shots, of which 2 missed, and the other one rolled a 1 to wound, so really unlucky there, mate. And he'd already burnt a command point that would have allowed him a potential reroll on that, so not ideal, but he did manage to tie up my X-Arc with the Scarabs. Didn't do any damage, but at least we're tied up. Well, he's tied up, except he's not, because he can just go flying off next turn. But while I may have the upper hand in terms of models, he's holding most of the objectives right now. So I'm going to have to be a bit proactive this turn. Here we go with Eldar, turn 2. Started to move up towards the objectives this turn, had this unit get out of their transport and push up to here. Transport followed them along, as did the jet bikes. Pushed another unit of jet bikes to the cover midfield, along with a Avenger unit that had been in that building. Got some good run rolls to get there, and the Farseer came up behind them. The Falcon Grav Tank just hovered slightly around the corner, holding on to the squad inside, and over here the Wave Serpent whooshed out to the flank, still carrying some Avengers for a potential counter-strike later in the game. And down here the one surviving Shining Spear moved out of combat, trying to look innocuous for some shenanigans later on. Psychic phase went pretty well again, managed to get off Jinx and Doom on the big warrior unit in the centre, that as you can see is no longer there, because that's what Jinx and Doom does with this amount of firepower. And I also guided one of the Reaper units and smited that warrior squad for 1 kill. And then just mass shuriken fire blasted a huge hole in this unit here, completely destroyed them, and took a bit off here as well. Tempest Launcher added a few shots, but the Reaper launchers and Bright Lances focused on the Ghost Arc, hoping that by reducing that I could slow down his reanimations, but it's left alive on 4 wounds. Quantum shielding is a very nice rule, and it served him well. That and the fact this wasn't doomed like most of the things I've shot so far today. So still a nice chunk of warriors taken off there. He may need to take a leadership test. We'll have to see about that in a minute. But other than that, things are currently going just as planned for the Eldar, and I've still got my spiders to come in at a later date. The Necrons started their turn by bringing back the entire unit here, so he was down to about 9 guys left. But a good volley of reanimations, followed by the second reanimation from the Ghost Arc, left him back at the full 20-man unit. Army was pretty static this turn, but that still allowed him to do some serious shooting. The Nihilakh dynasty tactics, meaning, was it Nephrite, the one that gives him reroll 1s, meant that he could wipe out the jet bike unit and the Dire Avenger unit with the firepower from the Ghost Arc and 2 warrior units. But he didn't have enough guys left to also shoot at the Warlock and Farseer, so at least they're safe for now. Doomsday Arc carried on having a bit of a bad day, to be honest. Only got 1 shot despite a command point reroll, hit but failed to wound the Dark Reapers again. It's just terrible dice. But his Gauze Arrays, the broadsides, did manage to finish off the last of the Shining Spears, the X-Arc there. Thought he was safe, but alas no. So yeah, he's still holding the middle ground here. Oh, and the Scarabs charged the Dire Avengers, lost one Scarab for 3 Avengers, so that's a bit of a nuisance, but we'll survive. But yeah, on the whole, an alright turn, but there's still plenty of Eldar counterattack. So as we head into turn 3, I'm really just sort of shooting off targets of opportunity and just cutting down the last of the Necrons now. Move these 2 guys out of combat to allow the Wave Serpent to shoot their shuriken cannons, killed just 1 Scarab base, so not great, but hey, it is what it is. The Farseer added his firepower to that as well. Big arrival this turn was the Warp Spiders, down in the middle, exactly 9 inches out from the warrior unit, which got doomed, but was alright in terms of Jinx and Guide. Both Jinx and Guide failed to go off, and Jinx failed to go off, so they're only doomed. But with the jet bikes, the Wave Serpent, the Warp Spiders, the Dire Avengers, they were eventually cut down, leaving the Falcon, the Wave Serpent, and the last one of the Dire Avenger units to finish off the Ghost Ark, which took up way more firepower than it should have done. And then the last Reaper squad with the Tempest launcher cut down a few from these. Oh, actually, the Falcon didn't shoot the Ghost Ark. The Falcon shot the Overlord, who wasn't an Overlord, he was just a Lord, who was left standing in the open after his squad evaporated around him. So that is Slay the Warlord, and he's just got 1 damaged infantry unit, a support character, and an artillery piece that can't hit for toffee left. So yeah, for once, everything seems to just be going well and to plan. One slight correction there, the Cryptek is actually the Warlord, not the Necron Lord, so I haven't got Slay the Warlord yet, but still, things aren't going bad. So Adam's third turn was rather short and sweet. Everything stood where it was, and he only resurrected a single warrior. Doomsday Ark finally did something. He switched his dice up and managed to take out 2 jet bikes. Could have been more if the dice had favoured him a bit, but it was better than previous turns. And then the warriors fired at the Warp Spiders, and pretty good wound rolls, but then I rolled all my armour saves. I think 9 saves of 3 up, and I passed them all. So yeah, at that point we've kind of concluded that, I mean, this unit is probably dead next turn because I'm just tightening the noose, and that leaves him with an Annihilation Barge, Doomsday Ark. So Adam has decided to call it there, but thank you for a good game, mate. Yeah, it's nice to get a victory with the Eldar now. Things are looking up. I'll catch you in a minute for the post game. Well, that all went rather well, didn't it? It's really nice when your army actually plays like it's supposed to and the dice don't screw you over and you just have a great game. Yeah, really pleased with the outcome there. I think it could have been a very different game if I hadn't had the first turn, though. That Tessarect Vault and those Catan looked really scary, and having the opportunity to shoot them at close range with all my psychic powers up from the first turn really saved me from what could have been a lethal combination there. I think if Adam had first turn, I mean, I had some ways to mitigate it. You know, I'd kept my Reapers inside their transports, so they were less likely to get the worst of it. And yeah, I'd, you know, a lot of some reserves there as well to counter it. But I think he could have taken a big chunk out of my army if those units had lived. As it was, I got all my psychic powers off in the first turn. All my charges, all my shooting, all just worked to perfection. He was far enough forward that I could even bring down my fire dragons to support it. And yeah, by being able to take out that big sort of chunk, the real hard-hitting core of the army on turn 1, gave me the upper hand from early on, and then it was just a case of playing sensibly, not overextending myself, and plinking off the units till yeah, end of turn 3. He didn't really have much left, and that does seem to be the way that the new edition of 40k is working. I mean, you've probably seen this over the last year, but a lot of games, when a player is quickly getting the upper hand, and by turn 3, regardless of where the points are, it's often a foregone conclusion. I don't think he would have had a way back from there, just didn't have enough firepower to take out my units, nor enough manoeuvrability to deny me the objectives by that point in the game with the losses he'd taken. I say the new units I had been recently adding, the extra Reapers and the Shining Spears, all worked very well. They weren't sort of amazingly stand out, but they were solid. It was the shuriken weapons that were really doing the job for me, especially early on in the game. Having Guide and Doom and also Jinx up meant that even like the little shuriken weapons, just through number of dice, were cutting through the targets. It just yeah, it was really nice. To the point where I didn't even need the Reapers on the first turn to take out the Tessarect Vault, and they could just plink off warriors at range. So that was nice. I think from Adam's point of view, I'm not sure what he could have done differently, to be honest. I think the long deployment zones, or the narrow deployment zones, long table, played into my hands quite well there. Necrons as a race, apart from the Doomsday arc, really lack range, and then with me deploying further back, so I wasn't at all up at the front of my deployment zone, he had to push his, well, he was almost trapped into pushing his Catan and his Vault right far forward, which meant they didn't have anything to back them up, and apart from that one unit of warriors, and they were all right in the gun sights of not only my long range firepower but my short range firepower, and even the fire dragons. Despite the nerf to deployment from reserves, I was still able to bring them in range on the first turn. So yeah, I think it shows a weakness that Necrons have as an army, and a strength that Eldar have. We can just outrange them and draw them in. So yeah, that was all rather good. Hope you guys enjoyed the battle report, and thanks for a good game, Adam. Like I say, I'm not sure what you could have done differently. You played what you had well, and definitely up for giving you a rematch under different circumstances. Different mission, different deployment, maybe me not going first could have been a very different outcome. Now, this battle report is actually part of two we're doing to help me and Adam, who are both trying to learn our armies better. We're both collecting Eldar and Necrons, so this was my Eldar against his Necrons, and then we're going to do one that's my Necrons against his Eldar, so stay tuned for that coming up in the next few days. He gets his chance for retribution. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.